Okay, so now we're going to move on to the Allies turn 1 now. In the first game, the first turn, I should say, of June 6th, the Ally player actually gets 2 turns. They get the special invasion turn, and then they get the normal turn that follows the German turn number 1. So the standard turn has no special rules. Follow-up units are allies or reinforcements. So all these follow-up units here, these are the reinforcements for turn 1. And this one here says that it comes in on turn 2. It has a turn 2 at the top and tells you that right there. And the mobilization is the same way. Release 1 per turn starting turn 2. Over here also has the mobilization that releases on turn 2. And of course, any of our black square units cannot be released till turn 2, only if units are close to them. So I think the first part is we're going to concentrate over in this area where the Americans have a lot of units that need to come in. They need to clear out some room. They got some space to move, but they also need to reinforce these paratroopers here because they're getting hit pretty hard. So they need to do something there to help them out. So let's check that out first. So of course, all these units that are marked with scattered, they may not move or attack. So what we're going to do is we're going to want to move some units in here to help with an attack. So I'm going to take and move this tank unit on top of this cadre right here and move this unit on over there. And they're going to attack this unit right here. And the next move, I want to take this 4-4 and bring it on over, and they're going to attack this unit right here. Now we have a bunch of units coming on. This unit can't attack. It just basically opens up the unit, the engineer. It opens up the beach, so it can't attack here. And this unit, it cannot also attack, but these units coming in here, they can. So all of these are coming on, and now we don't have that special movement that we had in turn number 1. They just come onto the beach. Now the only thing that happens is they get a regrouping marker on them. And they are all going to attack this stronghold right here. So these guys are going to attack this unit, and these guys are going to attack that unit right there. So let's start with this one here. Now this one here is in the bocage, so it gets a +3, but only gets a +2 because it is a 2 unit here. So that's going to make that a 4. So our lead group here, it doesn't matter, they're both 4, so we're going to have the 101st be the main unit of attack there. So this gives an odds of 8 to 4, which is 2 to 1. And a shift for the quality of the troops here, because they have a +1 there, and this has a -2. So we do get a shift for that, which brings it to 3 to 1. So we roll the die, and we end up with a 6. So we look a 6, the die roll of 6 on our combat table at 3 to 1 odds is D1, which means that this unit is eliminated. And the 2 ally units may advance, which I think we probably would do that. So we're going to advance right into there. Now this one here, again, we get a defensive bonus of 3 for the bocage, but we're going to get only 2 on that one. And then we have a unit that is 6 and 1. The cadre can attack. So we have 7 to 4, which is 1 to 1. But we do get an armor shift, which makes it a 2 to 1. It's another die roll, and we get a 4. So we check on the combat table at 2 to 1 odds. A die roll of 4 brings a DR result. So the German unit is going to retreat back here to Koreatown. They're going to retreat back to Koreatown right there, and they get a disrupted on them. So just so we know that it's on those guys, we'll move these guys over, put these guys down there, put our disrupted on them, and these guys can go back on top. And our armor unit advances into here to reinforce these guys, our battalion, I should say. Our battalion unit is going to advance into here, And I think our armor unit will advance right... No, we'll just leave them right there on top of the cadre to help them, give them a shift if they should get attacked. Okay, so our last attack is going to be against this stronghold right here, and this is our regrouping. So we have 3 and 6, so that's 9, and then we have 4. So that would be 13. And then we divide that in half, round it up. So 13 and a half would be 6 and a half going to 7. So that's 7. And I'm going to move this a little so you can see that completely. 7, and we're attacking them to 2. So it's 7 to 2. Now the strongholds, they don't get any advantage for the terrain. So they don't get any defensive combat bonus there. So 7 to 2 ends up being a 3 to 1. No armor shift is allowed, even though we have an armor unit, but it's not allowed against the strong point. But the allies do get a shift there, +1. So they do get a troop quality shift. So the final odds are going to end up being 4 to 1. So the die roll is a 5. So when we look at 4 to 1 odds, a 5 equals D1. Defender is going to lose 1 step. Any remaining defending unit must either retreat or conduct a determined defense. Well, it's a stronghold, so it's just going to go away. If the defender retreats, they become disruptive. We don't have to worry about that. They actually lose because they can't retreat. And the attacker may advance. And I think we are going to go ahead and just advance up here. So we'll take this unit and this unit, and we'll advance them there. And because we don't have to advance in the direction of the defender, we can actually go 1, 2. We can advance over here. And I think I'd rather reinforce this paratrooper group here. So they're going to get a regrouping there. And let me grab another regrouping. Put a regrouping on that unit there also. So that's our attack here at Utah Beach. We did pretty well. We got the units off the beach, and we also were able to reinforce most of our paratroopers except this one over here. He's going to have a little tough time, but we'll do what we can to help him out as soon as we can. Okay, so over here at Omaha Beach, we kind of have a problem. We have a lot of units to bring in here, but the Germans got us pretty well hemmed in right here. So it's going to be kind of difficult to get anything on shore unless we move these guys out, which is what we have to do. Ranger here lost the step, so he only can defend at 1, so he really can't do any kind of attacks. Now off of shore here, we can bring in Corps HQ. We can bring that in, and we can also bring in the engineers. But let's try clearing this out first. So we're going to do a couple of attacks. So the first attack is going to come from this group right here. And as you can see, we have a tank, we have a flak gun there, we have a 2-3 and a 2-3 there. So we have 4, but we get a defensive combat bonus of 2 for one of these units here. So we have 6, and then we have 3 is 9, and we have 9 attacking. So we have 1 to 1 odds there, which is not always the best. So we're going to bring in one of our naval units here to go ahead and help out with that attack, because as long as they're within this blue line right here, if they're north of that, then we can go ahead and attack them with it. So this is going to put the column over another 1, so we're going to have 2 to 1 odds, and we get a dice roll of 5. So we look on our combat table. A dice roll of 5 at 2 to 1 is DR. The defender must either retreat or conduct a determined defense. So the defender is going to do a determined defense. It's going to use the flak gun, has its lead unit for that. So because the armor on that is better than the armor on our tank, which is why we didn't get an armor bonus here, that's going to help it out by moving it over, by getting it a +1 modifier on the die roll. So for the determined defense, the die roll is a 4, which gets changed into a 5. So we go by the other position on our determined defense table, and we see that a 5 is the dot, which means that the retreat is canceled. But we do have a -1, which the defending lead unit loses 1 step. So they don't retreat, but they do have to take a step off of the flat gun. So that knocks them down a little bit, but they don't retreat. These guys can't go anyplace, so that did not help us out at all. So the next combat is going to be these units against these units here. Now, again, we have a 2 unit, a 2 unit. So they get, the Bocage is 3, but only one of them gets 2, so that's going to give us 6 here. And we got 7, 8. So we have 8 defending. And then we have 3. And we have 8. So we have 11 to 8. 11 to 8 makes it a 1-to-1. And because there is no armor shift, because if we look here, we see that their armor is actually superior to our armor. So there's no armor shift there. So that's a 1-to-1 odds again. So again, we're going to call in the naval support here to help out and shift it on over to a 2-to-1. And we should announce our main attack force. So our main attack force is going to be the tank. And we're going to roll now, and we get a roll of, it's a horrible roll. It's a roll of 1. Which one on 2-to-1 is A1. A1 is the attacker loses 1 step from the main assault force, no retreat or advance after combat. So both these were quite disastrous for us, for the Allies. No action there, even though we had attacks. We had no action whatsoever. Don't know why I turned all these, but I'll turn them around because I have to be that way. Okay, so no retreats here, no bringing units in. We can bring in these units here, but we can also bring in the next turn too. So that way they're not in the stack when there's an attack. Our ships get flipped over to the used side. And that was really kind of a disastrous result there. We'd love to have these ones in because now the Germans are going to have time to reinforce these. And that's even going to make it harder for us to get on the beach further into inland. Okay, so we moved down here on Gold Beach. And in Gold Beach, we have a little bit of room because the Germans weren't able to get enough reinforcements here to block us in like they did on Omaha. So we're going to leave this group of British here, and they're going to attack the 352nd, and then we're going to move this one on up to help out attacking this other 352nd here group. And we're going to bring all of these guys in. So we're going to bring our engineer into the beach, our corporate headquarters, corps headquarters, and then this unit here, the 8th, and we're going to put a regrouping in this. A regrouping that only applies to that group right there. The next thing we're going to do is move this whole unit here, right here, because they're going to do an attack on that gun. And this unit here also going to attack that gun. And we're going to bring the first Corps HQ up and the engineer, and I guess we'll switch that around like this so that we have them lined up. And we're going to bring this SFR number 2 on there, and we're going to also place a regrouping on that one right there. So these units are going to attack this, these units are going to attack here, and these units are going to attack that group right there. So we also have Sword Beach here. We have some units that we want to bring on the Sword Beach here. So we do want to, so let's go ahead and take care of the battles here before we move on over to Sword Beach here, and let's do Gold and Juno here. Now for this unit here, defensive combat bonus here, they're going to get a 2 because again the Bocage is a 3, but we can only accept the maximum of what the unit is. And here we have the tank battalion, and we have 2 of the 50th unit, so that's 9, and that's 12. So we have a 12 to 4 or 3 to 1. Then we get an armor shift, which makes it a 4 to 1 right there. So we're going to roll the die and see what we get. And we get a 3. So we look at our combat table. At 4 to 1 odds with a die roll of 3 is DR. The defender must either retreat or conduct a determined defense. If the defender retreats, they become disrupted. The attacker may advance after combat if the defender retreats. So the German is going to elect to retreat, and they're going to move down to 23 hex right here, right next to Bayeux. And our units now, they can go ahead and advance, which I think we will do an advance there and here. And we'll leave that unit in this city right there. So we'll advance it like that. And of course we put a disruptive on that unit. So the next combat we have is right here. And the main attacking force is the 50 division with a reduced tank, which is right there. So the 50th is the main battle force, and so they're going to attack at full strength. And then we have our tank, which is going to help us out with an armor shift. So what we have here is we have 12, 13. But we are going to cross a river hex there. And there, you can see the river right here coming in. So attacking across the river hex, our attack gets cut in half. So half of 13 is 6.5, rounded up is 7. So we have 7 to 6. So we get 2 for the defensive bonus, and we have 4 right there. So we have 7 to 6, which is 1 to 1 odds. Now we don't really like the 1 to 1 odds. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in some naval support here. And the naval support again can go up to this blue line down here. So they're plenty within range of the naval. And they're going to go ahead and increase that to a 2 to 1. And then our armor is going to increase it to a 3 to 1. So we have a dice roll, and we get a 5. So we look at our table, 3 to 1 with a dice roll of 5 is A1, D1. So A1, D1. Each side loses 1 step. The attacker step lost must come from his main attack force. Surviving defenders either retreat or conduct a determined defense. If the defender retreats, they become disruptive. The attacker may advance after the retreat. So the German player elects to retreat, and they're going to remove the 2-3 battalion here. Get rid of that one. That's their loss. And retreat back 2 hexes here and get a disrupted on there. Now the Commonwealth here, they must take the loss from their main attacking force, but because they use the armor shift, they have to take it from here. And because this is already reduced, it is going to be eliminated. So they lose the armor, and these guys will advance up next to that disrupted unit there and form a bond right there. So the last combat we have is this 3rd Canadian division here, and they're going to attack into this flak gun. So this group here, they get a 2, so that's a 4, and then the 3 is a 7. And again, because they are attacking across the river, which goes right around there, which is a good move by the Germans, their attacking force is going to be reduced. So the odds are going to be 12 to 7. We have 6, 10, 11, 14, 24, and 27. So half of 27 would be 13 and a half. So we bring that up to, we would round that down to 12. Well, actually that would be 12. So the odds are going to be 12 to 7. Now the attacker, again, we're going to use naval support on this one because 12 to 7 is a 1 to 1 odds. And we want to move that up a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and use the naval. Now the defense unit tank cancels out our armor shift because theirs is a much better armor attack, or much more elite group than ours, so that cancels it out. So we're going to roll the die, and we get a 4. So 4 on 2 to 1 is DR. The defender must either retreat or conduct a determined defense. If the defender retreats, they become disruptive. The attacker may advance after combat. Now the German player here is going to attempt to do a determined defense using the 88 here as its lead unit. And we get a roll of 5. So the 5 is modified to a 6 due to the combat rating between the two units here. So a 6 on the determined defense table, a 6 in other is EX with the dot. So the dot cancels the retreat. EX, the defender's lead unit loses 1 step, and any one attacking unit in the main attack force defender's choice loses 1 step also. So it's an exchange. So the 88 has to lose a step. And then the player exchanges, the exchange loses. Sorry, it took me a little bit of time to go through this. So actually I'm going to take it from this unit right here, which gets replaced by an infantry cadre. And sorry, in between things I knocked some stuff out of the way, so that'll explain why that's moved a little bit. So we put the cadre here, and nobody moves anywhere or gets disrupted. They just stay right there in that square. And of course our 2 ships that were in there, both of them go back up to the used, flipped over to the used side so that they can't be used again. Okay, so the last group that we have to deal with right here is on Sword Beach, this unit, this group coming in here. And the idea is to reinforce the paratroopers over here. So we're going to make a move here. We're going to move these guys here and here. And there's no Zachbahn here, or because this has a white insignia around it. Now this still has a zone of control, but we can move through that 1. And then we're going to move this unit up 1 also. So we have the Marines, or the engineers, the engineers that we can bring in here. And we have 2 units of tanks. And the 3rd, which goes with that 3rd there. So we're going to also bring them on in too. Now we're going to take one of these tanks, we're going to move it on up to be with this one here, and we'll actually put it underneath there because we do have to get a regroup that unit. Then we'll bring our 6-4 back on top because that unit's going to attack at half strength there. And all of these units are going to come on in. And they will also get a regroup because they attack at half strength also. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have these half strength stack here attack against the stronghold. Now stronghold's tool gets no benefit from the bocage there. So the attacking group is half. So it's at 6, 6, and 3. So that's 12, so that's 15. So half of 15 is 7.5, rounded up to 8, which we actually half all them before we put it together. So it ends up being 8 to 2, which is 4 to 1. Now we can't do an armor shift against a strong point, so all we have is a 4 to 1 attack on that. So we're going to roll a die, and we get a very nice roll of 6. So 6 on 4 to 1 is D1. The defender loses 1 step. Any remaining defender unit must either retreat or conduct a determined defense. If the defender unit retreats, they become disrupted, and the attacker may advance after combat. So this one just goes away because there's nothing, it's only a single unit, and this group here can go ahead and advance right on in, and we'll keep that tank right there, right on into that city. Put that on that unit there. Okay, so according to the book, these two attack this one here. These units are half, and the strong point is our main attack force here. No armor shift or no troop quality shift on that. Gained by either player. So it's 1-to-1. So we roll a die. We end up with a 3. So die roll of 3 on 1-to-1 is attacker 1, A1, and DR. A1, DR. The attacker loses 1 step from his main attack force. The defender must either retreat or conduct a determined defense. If the defender retreats, they become disruptive. The attacker may advance after the attack. So the ally player has to remove a step from the tank on the main attacking force. Takes that away. The German player must either retreat or conduct a determined defense. He decides to do a determined defense. He selects the strong point, has the lead unit here, and rolls, and gets a 2. And when we go over to the determined defense table, we're going to use the strong point city, and we go down to 2, there's no result. So the stack must retreat. And since it cannot retreat, the SP unit is removed. So this one is removed. And this unit retreats in Epron, this little city right here. And it gets a disrupt on it. Now, these units can advance 2 if they want. One will go here to reinforce that. This unit will go there. This unit will go there, and this regrouped one can advance 1. So he's going to go right there. And that ends all of our attacking up here at Sword Beach, except, no, we're just going to leave those guys right there. That's right, they all came in. I thought they were going to move, but they just came in. So that ends all of our attack here in Sword Beach. Okay, so that concludes the extended example in the book. Now, hopefully I didn't mess things up too much, and I did learn a lot about the different ways of attacking. But one of the things that sort of happened over here is while I was working over here, I accidentally banged up some of this stuff here. So not all of this stuff might be in this exact same spot that it should be. So if you notice the difference there, that's because I have big hands and sometimes no control of them. But I hope you enjoyed that. That was the extended example of Normandy 44, the invasion turn, and then the first turn. And then from there, you can actually play and continue playing this, or you can just go back and start all over and do your own thing. I may go ahead and take a picture of where all of this is at, and maybe at a further date, play this a little bit. I would like to learn this game a little bit more. I do want to start playing it more so online. It's just an absolutely fun game to do. And just like all of Simovich's 40 combat games, they're just fun. They're a lot alike, and you always have a chance of all kinds of weird stuff happening, even your hand going across, wiping out a table. So I want to thank you for joining me on this, and I appreciate you hanging around. Hopefully you learned something. I know I did. And I will see you, or have to be seen by you, in the next video. Take care.